Hey guys, and welcome to a short little clip of Monifactory, and you guessed it, today's the day. The time is now. It is April the 24th at 8:42 p.m. West Coast time, and we're done. We're fucking done. Um, yeah, anything you wanted to say,
Uh,
Cosmic?
this was objectively worse than ATM9 Magic, I'll be honest. It turned into ATM9 at the end of the goddamn frame rate.
Here, let's take a look at the
Uh,
TPS. I just started like forgetting about it. The TPS is below 10 and has been for at least a minute. It might be because you logged in or something and you might be eating like that last TPS or whatever.
I doubt it.
I don't know, but it's been really, really quite atrocious. Activated Netherite line has been the bane of our existence pretty much since it happened. Uh, it's fucked up. It's fucked up. So I guess we'll go ahead and I'll pull the craft now if you're ready. You ready?
Oh boy.
Three, two, one. We're done. Oh, it doesn't consume the tools. That's nice. We're done. A winner is us. We did it. We fucking did it. Would you here take 1 million
I'll
creative
take.
chests? Let's go. Yeah, fill your inventory. Here, I'm dumping them into the applied logistics system. Is it just pushing them out into the world? Do I need to?
No, I'm throwing them.
Okay. Working disabled. Uh,
Make it rain.
uh,
Make it rain.
Uh, you are apparently
Uh,
because there are several 100,000 items in my backpack.
how?
It is actually legitimately pushing those items out, by the way.
Oh, it's because per cycle, I guess. I don't
I
know.
turned it off. Let's see, magnet filter here, not that one, and we'll turn the magnet back on. Pick up to Emmy. How many creative chests do we have now? We have
183.
183,000. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're good on.
Think we're good.
Oh my god, we're done. Oh, oh, I,
Jiminy
I have
bro.
been so for those. I'm sure I'll mention this in the full log that I'll do tomorrow. But I have been streaming over the last week, and I have played about 40 hours over the last 4 to 5 days. I did two 12-hour streams back to back, and then I did an 8-hour stream after that. And even though after the stream was over, I played for another 5 hours on top of that. And then I played like 6, 7 hours on 2 days before. So this last week or so for me has been an absolute insane mega grind. I was really, really happy to be done, and I really wanted to be done. Um, so I really, really grinded for this. I didn't really do anything other than play Monifactory for basically the last 5 days. I have done almost nothing else. Um, I wake up, I fucking go get like breakfast or whatever, and then I sit down, I play Monifactory for 12 hours, and then I go to bed, and then I wake up and do it again. And that's pretty much what the last week was. And I am really ready to be done with Monifactory. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a great time. So, Cosmic, would you like to do a base tour? Shall we do it at normal speed just so we get like an idea of just how large this
Uh,
base is? Oh my god, I can't handle that short FOV.
let's let's start all the way. I think. Do you want to start at Montana and just work backwards?
Well, we should actually
Maybe?
start over here, because this is where, under research, where it used to be the hand batch area, this is where the old,
Right.
this is like archaeology. This is where the old, the LOM base platform was.
Right. Yeah. You can
We ha
still see the old rubber tree
Yeah, and then we had,
foundation.
the enchanting table here. This was on a hill, and where on demand is right now, probably where the pathway was where we had all our steam grinders and stuff.
Yeah.
Remember how long we were sitting in front of those fucking things, and we had like
Don't worry, I do.
um, let's see. How much time do you have? I'll take a look how much time I have.
Let me look.
I have 27 and a half days, so if you want to tell me how many days you have, I'll add it up and
I
do the math.
have 8.5.
27.55 plus 8.5 times 24 is a total of 865.2 hours between the two of us. And the third person who plays in this server, she had like another 100 hours or so, little over. So that's fairly close to 950 hours. So that's pretty damn close to the 1,000 combined hours I estimated for Monifactory at the very beginning. But oh my god, we're done. So I guess we should start in order of how we did the expansions.
I
I
think
guess. What's
actually
up?
this is the oldest piece in the entire base. Is this EBF right here?
This can't. Yeah, this no, the Canthal EBF. That was the first one we
The
built.
Canthal, the Canthal. Well, the coils are older, but this has been upgraded. This
Yeah,
has been
this
upgraded.
EBF right here
This one's
is
still running at EV.
no, this one we built after. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, no, I
Uh,
know.
But this used to be the hand batching area that eventually fell out of favor once we really started getting into like IV and LUV. And then I eventually tore it all out for research because I needed somewhere to put that. And I decided it would
Yeah.
be a good place to put it over here. And then we have a single LCR here that I used to make fluids one time to make the
That
planar
you never
cells.
needed to do because we had
Yeah,
creative tanks and
yeah,
we
I
could have
had
just
no, and I didn't
drag
know
and
you could
dropped it.
filter. No one told me that you could filter creative tanks. um, you didn't either. You watched me. You watched me
I
set that
figured
up.
it out while I was doing it.
um, yeah. So we had a central core. Obviously, was where we started, and then we came down over here, and then I actually built this lookout area because I thought it was cool, and I remember when this was just like a flat canyon, like there was nothing else over there, and we're like, I was thinking like, man, what
Holy
is this gonna
balls, the amount
be?
of terraforming.
And like, yeah, I know there's been a lot of terraform around over here,
Uh,
and yeah, and so it's been a long way. We have like the big central tower
Easily.
over there and the bridge and stuff. Uh,
We had the generator room, which has probably changed the most next to Factory 4 1 and 2, probably.
yeah, I mean, we added we had a bunch of things over here. We had like a bunch of dynamos, or actually I'd put the sugarcane farm over here. It got moved over here when we needed that for a little bit, just because it was a big open area and it
It
was
went
only
from Steam to Pneumastics
in
to
here was only
Hog
stim. We only
to
had new
Gene to
mystics in here.
Plasma.
Yeah, we were on new mystics up until Hog, and then we went to Gene, and then we went to Fusion, and then we went added Naquita reactors to that, and then we went to Creative Energy. We were on Plasma though up until Creative Energy.
You mixed approximately like 128 fusion, or not fusion, 128 turbines being added.
Yeah, we added a ton of fusion turbines towards the end. But we added a bunch of Naquadah reactors that we never ended up needing because there's a bug with Laser IO in the current version where if you have multiple extraction cards and a dynamo hatch, it voids power at ridiculous rates. And we didn't notice this because at the LUV substation hatch, a 2 million EU tick draw seemed somewhat reasonable to me. But when we swapped to ZPM a substation hatch, it was immediately spiked to 8 million, and that set off alarm bells, especially since we didn't make 8 million. I don't know if you remember Cosmic me like pinging you in person, like panic, like oh my god, we're about to go into a fucking blackout. Holy shit, what the fuck, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I had to I panic hammered out like 10 more turbines, and it still wasn't enough. And then I panic hammered out like a bunch of Naquita reactors. That was interesting. And then I fixed it, and then it was fine. I swapped this all over to flux plugs, and like in a panic, and I cut like the base's power draw by like 90% or something by the time I was done.
Yeah.
I finally broke down and built a passive dimensional stabilize or a super ass over here. This one was to make universal navigators, ultimate material, and something else in here. What else did I make? We made universal navigators, ultimate material, and I think oh yeah, and warp engines because we chewed through so many warp engines for stuff. Off the
Yeah.
streams, I ended up putting cryobulus miners and stuff on passive. Uh, So we over here we have HNN2. This saw some extensive rebuilds, but not for a serious amount of time. Originally, this we had when we built this line into the original. When it was originally built, it was either an MV, and then I think I built it into HV like pretty soon after it was set up. And then after we had, it was basically a double HV line, so it was two lines
It was the
of
same line duplicated twice.
yeah,
Yeah.
on HV, and that literally kept us going up until tank. We just never really used a lot of this stuff up until around we started hitting tank, and then I started needing to send micro miner missions for ender pearls, and then we got tank, and then it was fine. Um, and then after we got tank, we rebuilt it for multi blocks, and this is actually was really necessary. This is overclocked to max +1 just because of how much you need so much wither data for all the wither bones for all the ultimate materials.
Activated netherite.
Yeah, and all the wither data too for all the activated netherite. Oh my god, I hate activated netherites.
One activated netherite uses 12 wither bones, and you get
What am
one
I?
per
Oh,
connection.
increases running speed. That's the one here. So I'm now at normal Minecraft sprint speed. Because see how long it takes me to get around from the base. So this is Hubris, which was where we had our original steam grinders for ore processing, as well as where we had a polyethylene line originally. And then over
And there's also
here,
PVC, I believe.
yeah, PVC was over here as well. I don't remember what we put over here originally. Oh, there was greenhouses
It
here where
was
we
a tree
made
farm. Yeah.
yeah, greenhouses where we made fermented biomass for uh that because that was our original petrochem line was fermented biomass. That we did that first before oil. This has been rebuilt multiple times. When we rebuilt a PPM line, I needed sand, gravel, dust somewhere, and this area wasn't really being
Why do we
used.
have 500,000? Why do we have 500,000 sand and only 50k of the others?
Because I think I fucked up a level emitter somewhere. And I also set up sand a lot higher because we smelt that for glass since we use that for building a lot. And then we have autoclaves over here for a bunch of different things. We have, like the crystals. We have the crystal chips, flux infused gems, lapitrons, pulsating crystals, vibrant crystals, and gravistars. Gravistars originally weren't going to go over here because I didn't think we needed that many of them. And yes, you do. Yes, you fucking do. You need so
I
much of
love looking
literally
at the
everything.
machines and counting the decimal points of the seconds.
Yeah, it's great. The server's running at like 1/10 speed or something, or not 1/10, but like 1/4 speed or something like that. A little under 1/4 speed, or one half.
Pretty great,
Yeah, one
pretty
half
great.
speed. Right at 10 TPS right now, so it's running at half speed. Um, oh man, I'm so slow. This base is huge. Oh, actually, we should see how much nether quartz we have. I know it's over 3 billion. We have
3.2.
3.2 one. We have 3.214 billion nether quartz. That's a lot of nether quartz. We have more
That
nether
is a little
quartz.
bit.
We have more nether quartz and we have buckets of infinite fluid. Just want to just want to mention that. Over here we
Mm-hmm.
have Factory Floor 1, which has seen extensive rebuilds over the course of the playthrough. We've passive circuits over here as well as multiple other things. What's really funny is biochaff, these plant balls for biochaff. It's always been here, as well as like the Certus quartz and stuff here, and the Fluix. That's been here for quite some time. The only difference is they got upgraded to higher tier machines. They were on like MV or whatever, and then they got upgraded to IV, and then I just never really felt like tearing them out. Laser IO blows. Don't use Laser IO. Laser IO is okay for power spines, but anything else for item transfer, it's atrocious. It really is quite bad for item transfer. And it's, I mean, in small scales it's fine, but with any real throughput rate it's terrible. Use item pipes, especially for things like molecular assemblers. They can push into each other if they're connected to item pipes. So all of these molecular assemblers make various different subcomponents for uh, they make advanced micromiter guidance systems, quantum link chambers, and octadic capacitors, and they all make different subcomponents as well as the final component, and they all get pushed around until they get pushed into the drawer controller for the very final component, and then they're stored, and then it's done. There you go, and that is as fast as you can dump
And you
items
can
into it.
also put facades on these, unlike the other ones.
Yeah, I didn't put facades in them because I was busy doing something else, and it just never ended up happening. Uh, this base isn't 100% complete, but it is definitely the most complete base I think I've ended a pack with for sure. Over here is factory floor 2, and when I first built this area at the time, it was one of my favorite places in the base because this was like my first major experiment with building styles, and this was a terrace style, and I really really liked this terrace style, and it gets used in multiple places in the rest of the base, from ore processing to assembly lines to on demand. We have lots of areas that have been terraced, and I really like all of them, and I'm really happy that I got to spend some more time over here because we had a bunch of machines over here. We had like titanium processing, and our original tungsten processing over here was here as well. And eventually I tore out a bunch of those machines. Never really put a lot of them back, but I started putting a bunch of these auto tables over here. We had like a funny experience with auto tables where it duplicated a bunch of T3 miners
Right.
and it crashed the
Yeah.
server, and we got really scared about tables and we never used them again, and we started crutching on requesters really bad. But I recently swapped away from requesters because the requesters are just so fucking slow, and I started doing true passive things again, and that was, I think, a really good decision to do.
And to clarify, the server only crashed because you dropped 3.1 million tier 3 microminers on the ground because you didn't read
2.7,
the
but
contents of the
who's
table.
counting? But yeah. Over here, where this block was, this is where original ore processing was. After when we needed HV for byproducts, like HV tier, this is where I was building them. And we had a huge drawer wall, and it was like super fucking scuffed, and it was awful. And I
Extremely.
hated it so much, and we didn't switch off of it until we hit IV multi blocks when I rebuilt all of ore processing into the good version that it is now. But I guess we can go talk about the EBF area. The EBF area was actually probably was before uh Factory Floor 2 for sure though. I'm pretty sure it was just after.
It also got rebuilt like 4 times before we actually put anything in it.
Yeah, I am as this is as fast as I go. I guess we can here we can sprint jump. Oh my. Man, this base is fucking ginormous. We have the big long bridge here. I really like this
This is
bridge.
without the speed walking, by the way.
Yeah, here, let
This
me
is just from
actually
slamming my head on the
turn up
ceiling.
my render distance a little bit so we can see the my
Oh
FPS might
boy, I do
suffer.
love brain damage.
You've played Greg
I
Tech.
love slamming
You've
my
already suffered brain damage. You're playing Greg
I
Tech.
love slamming my head on the ceiling to get extra movement speed.
um, I really like this bridge. I'm glad we finally got around to building like the actual arches underneath.
I just kind of said fuck it one day. Just said, I'll figure it out."
Yeah, and we didn't figure it out for like 4 months. But yeah,
We didn't figure out how to do it until basically the base was completely everything else was already done.
we were waiting on stuff. Yeah. But this is the EBF area. It did see extensive rebuilds actually. So we had a bunch of blocks of EBFs. Eventually over here we had titanium processing, and once titanium processing got moved somewhere else, I believe we just put it onto another EBF once I rebuilt everything over to ME output hatches, like ME hatches and stuff. Because originally we were just using regular input and output hatches and buses and stuff, and running from interfaces to those things with laser I/O. But eventually I just broke down and rebuilt the entire EBF area. It took me like a day, 2 days or something, and I did it with a bunch of subnets and some actually very unnecessary subnets. That kind
Yeah.
of caused me a lot of pain later on, especially with how I wanted to filter them all out and stuff. But it was very cool and it made them very easy to take a look at the status of some of the items. Because in these terminals over here, it's just the items that are made in this block or are required for the items in this block. Um, so I really enjoyed fucking around with all these subnets and stuff. But I think this was definitely a situation that maybe we didn't necessarily need subnets or as many as we did. Um,
Yeah.
anyway,
I've also
mm,
realized through all of this we've built 2 RHFs and we have not built a single bulk blast freezer either.
yeah, because once you like, there's nothing you really need them for once you hit tank. Nothing really requires you to do that. Like these things, like these things are sub ticked. So even with like Holmium or whatever, they do like 8 at a time or something in one tick. So we never really needed a bulk blast chiller. There's nothing. I mean, maybe if you didn't have tank or creative energy or something, maybe you would, but I don't know. Definitely not over here. We were also originally I was gonna passive Dark Solarium over here, but I never got around to it until we had the RHF, and then it just got put into an RHF. Down over here was where we had our alloy blast smelters originally. And the alloy blast smelters, we tore them all out for once we got tank and stuff, and then we kind of replaced them all with bajillion single block IV machines, which was fine for almost for like half of the all the items in the base, um, for quite some time as well. It's only been in like the last week and a half or so, where a lot of the IV machines had really started to fall short of what we actually needed. And in that case, we had a designated fluid solidifier, or we had a couple of different fluid solidifiers that were, uh, the multi-block ones that could do like 32,000 ingots in a single tick or something like that. Um, but this would help for like most items and most ingots. This was just fine. Um, there might have been like 30 or so that needed to go somewhere else. In terms of rods and lathes and screws and bolts and stuff too, it was pretty good. I think this was a pretty good idea to put it over here, and I think this, like I said, this was good enough for almost everything. And the things that weren't enough for, could just go on specific multi blocks and multi-tasted multi blocks specifically. Down over here was an area that I built when we were running out of room for EBFs and ABSs. and I was going to expand EBS and ABSs over here. However, I only built one ABS over here where this mixer was before we hit tank, and then we tore out most of the EBFs and most of the ABSs immediately. So this area never really got used for anything up until Eltzline was built here. Which was obviously we used pretty much all of the space over here for Eltzline as well. So it was good that we did expansion, but it wasn't really used for the initial purpose anyway. But that was fine.
Else was honestly, I spent more time with else with figuring out and diagnosing why it was breaking and things were breaking with level limiting and stuff than it actually took me to figure out the progression line and put down the machines.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, this got done.
We also have 1.1 million cadmium.
Yeah,
Cadmium.
I was running a bunch of redstone stuff, and we get a lot of uh,
No,
uh
just
rare.
in this
Oh
miner
no,
pool.
that pulls from all of mainnet. It
I
sees
know just
cadmium.
yeah, just from mainnet. Yeah.
Over here we have the clean rooms, and this was the normal clean room in here, which saw extensive use for quite some time, and I really do fucking hate the clean room. Because there's not really a whole lot of space in it, even if it's big, so you can't really put a lot of I guess you could cram some multi-blocks in here,
You
but
can, but you have to do wall sharing shenanigans.
yeah, and then once you can make multi-blocks, you can just it's not too hard to make the cleaning hatches either, and then you don't need to put them in here anyway. So
The
once
only
you
other thing is the
have
sterile.
yeah, the only difference is the sterile cleaning room. So as soon as we were able to move to multi-blocks with cleaning hatches, pretty much everything in here got ripped out. And we never really put anything back in here again because anything that can be done in a clean room can be done in a multi-block with a cleaning hatch. And everything that was needed to be in here was either on demand in a assembler with a cleaning hatch, or a circuit assembler with a cleaning hatch, or on passive with any other mission multi-block with a cleaning hatch. So it kind of is weird that the clean room doesn't really get used for anything later on. Maybe that's sort of the point of the sterile cleaning room one, is instead of building a second one, you're supposed to just swap out your old cleaning room for
Convert it. I
sterile.
mean, it would make sense.
But we didn't end up doing that because I didn't do that in ATM 9, so I actually wanted to make sure I left space for a separate sterile cleaning room. And in here is where we did all of like the stem line and stuff, is for Skulk Biopress. And you also have to make the data models in here as well. They also require a sterile cleaning room. And they were really slow even on a ZPM circuit assembler. They were 20 seconds each, and they were actually a bottleneck for a little bit for stellar creation data. So I just went ahead and built a circuit assembler in here, and they're the only thing that's actually on it in here because there's only one recipe on a circuit assembler that requires a clean room, a sterile clean room. Uh,
Really?
yeah, and it's that one. There is only one
That's the only circuit assembler recipe that requires a clean
a
a clean
sterile.
room.
That's the only one we ever did. There might have been actually something else, but I don't think so. I'm pretty sure that was the only one we ever really needed to do. In fact, if we can go over here and we can follow, we have the
That is
elevator
literally
here.
the only one in the circuit assembler that's done in the sterile clean room. I just scrolled through all of them.
Yeah, it's a really annoying. Any,
I would have thought that the living boards would be have to be done in here.
nope.
I would have thought that would have made sense, but
Yeah,
I
I don't
guess
know.
not.
But down here we have the cave area, and this is still by far, I think, my favorite area in the base. And I'm actually really happy that we ended up putting all the multi-blocks down here, because I like the last like month or so I've been spending a ton of time down here, and I'm very happy about that. It's very cool, very atmospheric. Uh, I I really enjoyed building this area too. It was a lot of fun. Originally we had Hog, and then Gene was partially over here, though Gene was also done in the DMC. But we had Hog over here originally, so we had a bunch of LCRs down over there, and we had some
I don't think we really
LCRs.
used Gene for that long, did we?
No, we did. We used it for a considerable amount. Not as long. We used it for longer than we did Hog, I think.
Did we?
I think so.
I didn't think we did.
I
Okay.
don't know. And so over here we had a bunch of
Well,
LCRs
that
and stuff.
bothers me.
What?
The underside of this doesn't connect, but the top side does.
Yeah, I think it's actually kind of cool personally. Um, yeah, so we had
Differences
originally
in physics.
this was just like the LCR area, and then I realized we hit a point where we needed more stuff. We needed to go somewhere. We didn't really have anywhere to go, and we needed lots and lots of space for just tons more LCRs and tons more shit in general. And I just decided, you know what, fuck it, we're just gonna clear out some space under the mountain, and I just dug a huge hole in the wall. This took me legitimately about 10 hours to build, 10, 14 hours to build, between digging it all out and then also doing all the decorative work and stuff. And it was a lot of fun building it, and it was actually we ended up using a lot of it over the course of the run. We did pull out a ton of LCRs as well. We had this line, well, we had NAC line where the microverse projectors were, and the other engravers here. NAC line used to be here, but again, once we hit tank, it all got torn out. We had more LCRs over here, and then we had LCRs on this side as well. Actually, both of these rows over here were LCRs. This was always molecular assemblers, and this has been revamped multiple times. I don't. We never. This is actually. I remember what used to be here. This is where all the extractors used to be, for all the various liquids we needed around the base. And obviously,
All
once we
right.
hit tank, it all of it got torn out. We also had tantalum line here, where you centrifuge lava for stuff, um, and that got torn out too because we didn't need that anymore. And we also needed a bunch of ultra dense hydrogen, like yesterday or the day before that. I don't know. It's all kind of moved into a blur. Um, but so eventually I rebuilt. We had stellar creation data over here originally, and it was just like two regular molecular assemblers making dense, feeding into one making ultra dense. But that was not enough. And then I had built 18 assemblers making or I built 18 making dense and then two making ultra dense, and I thought that would be good enough, and it wasn't. So now this is eight
Dude,
making ultra dense and 72 on top of that making dense. It's a 9-to-1 if you want them running at max speed at all times, and I did. And how this all works is they're all connected with item pipes in the back and in these rows, and they automatically push into each other as needed. No need for conveyor belts or robot arms. The only thing you need to do is extract from the interfaces, and that is it. There are 4 LUV conveyor belts that pump into all of these molecular assemblers, and they automatically take care of the rest. It really is. Molecular assemblers and GT item pipes are fantastic. I tore out all the problems I was having with molecular assemblers being really slow and having to overclock laser IO laser nodes to like ridiculous amounts to the point where they're eating like a a non insignificant amount of TPS per like laser node were solved with GT item pipes because laser IO's round robin system doesn't round robin. Over here, I also eventually just knocked out this wall because I realized I was getting really annoyed at tungsten T3 miners being really slow and needing more and ridiculous quantities of activated netherite. So originally I knocked out this wall so I could put some hyperbolics in here, and I was going to go that way more, and I was going to build 4 of them. But once I put up tungsten the T3 miners on true passive, I realized that it wasn't enough. We were feeding ridiculous amounts of resources into making T3 miners probably like really quite fast, and it still wasn't enough to feed a hyperbolic on top of the other one over here, which this one is doing activated netherite as well, doing all the missions and stuff. Um, and so I realized I didn't need it, but I'd already built the space. And then I thought about all the other stuff on the Almec Forge that I wanted to do. I was looking at like quantum flux, that was a pretty big bottleneck, and I wanted to do some passive platings and things like that. So I was like, well, fuck it, I could go ahead and put like a passive quantum an Almec Forge here. Something we've been really wanting for a long time, and we've mostly just been like bootlegging off the on-demand one. But we were more than capable of making one of these things
so now we
yesterday.
can. Back when we wanted to, it took like a full day of waiting for
Yeah,
until we
exactly.
activated
At the
netherite
time
again.
we couldn't, but now we can. It took me like 20, not even 20 minutes to craft all the things. I think it took like 4 or 5 minutes or something, and I
I
spent
think it's
most of
activated netherite is the
no,
key thing.
you don't need activated netherite for this because this makes activated netherite.
Oh, I had no idea.
It's used in the end point of activated netherite line to
I don't
actually
remember
make
what the expensive part of it was, to be honest.
LUV
At the
circuits
time,
or omnium I think, something like that.
Omnium sounds right.
Or I think it might have been the LUV circuits. But anyway, so I guess we're done over here. Where shall we go? I guess we'll go over to the
The
microverse
wire
area.
packer of infinite despair.
Yeah. We have the microverse area over here as well, and so we have where the hyperbolic was where the original basic was. We didn't have nearly that many microverse projectors as I think you're more or less supposed to have in this kind of pack, like the Nami's Mani Omni things. Um, but we never really had that many. We only had one hyperbolic, and we had the basic one here, and then we upgraded to the advanced, and then the advanced 2, and now the hyperbolic was here. Originally, I thought the hyperbolic would be able to do all of the different microverse projected recipes with just a circuit number, and that is not the case. I really should have just looked at EMI, and it would have known that that's not how it works, but I did. And once I figured out it didn't work like that, I was very sad. But we still managed to make it work. Over here we had various things, mostly for micro miner production, like quantum flux. This has been here for a long ass time. uh, Making various crystals and stuff. We really just kind of crammed this multi-block in here for. I didn't really feel like trying to put it anywhere else, so I just kind of crammed it in here, and it looks a little bit goofy. I'm not gonna lie, but it works in the end. Over here we were making Sonarium. Originally we were making the Crystal Matrix line stuff over here. You have to There's like a whole big line for Crystal Matrix where you have to do like cobalt nanoparticles and stuff like that, and it was a little bit annoying, but I did it over here, and then it got torn out fairly quickly because we hit tank not too long after Crystal Matrix stuff. And then we had the Sunarium stuff over here, but that was being made on Eltzline, and I never tore it out. And one thing I noticed is we were running low on Grains of Infinity for stuff. I forget what, but we needed lots of that stuff, and so I just ended up making a multi-block for it. The Matter Alterator multi-block is actually pretty cool. I think it's probably one of my favorites, and just how it looks. Like a big like electron gun or whatever. It looks neat. I like it. I think it's cool. It's a kind of a pain in the ass to fit in though. It really is a weird ass shape, and it really is quite annoying.
Just like the bulk blast freezer. It's such a weird shape. I don't know if you looked at the bulk blast
Yeah,
freezer
I
or not.
have. It's kind of like a fucked up multi-block.
Fun fact: it's an even amount wide. It's 6 wide.
Wow. Yeah, there's a bunch of multi-blocks that are like that, and they're really fucking annoying.
It's 7 by 11. It's yeah. It's what? It's 6 by 11 by
Seven.
7.
So
Yeah.
that's weird. Yeah, that's weird. We have this large solidifier here, and originally this was just for solidified hydrogen because the while most of the items we had in the big passive array were good enough, solidified hydrogen was not. It was very slow, and you needed ridiculous amounts of it in order to actually do anything. So originally this was only meant to make solidified hydrogen, and then we just started adding more and more things onto it, like mode of omnium, and then ender pearls, and then solidified argon, and now it makes a vast majority of the different ingots and stuff we have that are needed throughout the base. And we have just the big giant hole of doom where it just goes all the way down into like a giant well of just endlessly adding more and more things. I just started like blindly slapping stuff on here. We started having some recipe conflicts. Uh, we also had a recipe conflict with in the DMC actually. We had another solidifier in there, and that was for some other stuff. And I'd fucked up a level limit, or so there was a recipe conflict in there, and we ended up with 54 million Cryochus ingots, which filled several of I think about half of our mainline drives before I just I figured it out, went oh shit, and just dumped it all into a bulk and solved the problem in 10 seconds. So
I love AE2 Mega.
the bulk cells are so good. They only store one item, but they store infinite of that item, which is how we're able to actually store all that ore and stuff. Next we have over here is we have the fusion area. I really like the fusion area too. The fusion was super cool. Where
For
fusion,
the little bit of time we used it.
yeah, we didn't really use it for all that long. I think only about I don't know. I think we did use it for a decent enough time, but it has been off since we hit tank because there's just no point in running it. But actually, where
We
this,
never even made a Mark III because we never
yeah,
even made Neutronium. We just did microminers.
yeah, you can just microminer the mission initially, and then you just never really needed to do it any after that once you hit tank. Um, we still made a Mark III just for the quests though. But where Fusion is now is where we were actually originally planning to maybe put LCRs. Like me and Cosmic talked about this a while ago. Like, oh, when we need a big petrochem area, maybe we should like put it down here or something. We can hollow out some cave or whatever. And we never really
Mm.
got around to it because when we actually needed LCRs, I found this area over here and I was a lot more inspired by it. So I rebuilt. I built it over here and stuff. I really liked having like the lower and upper sections connected by the staircase and stuff. Uh, this was a lot of fun to build. I really like this
Oh yeah,
area.
the trophy room. We do need to. I do need to update that with other materials. Oh,
Oh yeah. But so Fusion was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed. I really wish it would glow like when they were on. But I really wanted to build sort of like a bunker kind of looking thing. I guess. I don't really know how like the way I would have explained what I wanted to build. This is pretty close. I do wish it was a little bit more. Instead of looking like a single solid block, it looked more like a bunch of like rings that were stacked together, sort of like a slinky, if that makes sense. But I still think it came out pretty good, especially since the interior looks fucking fantastic. I know like this path really doesn't do anything, but I wanted to build the donuts in the vertical like this specifically so you could walk through them. I know you'd have to like I built the side area over here for the controllers because obviously you have to. So there's no real point to building this area in here other than it looks really fucking awesome. And I really liked how I separated all the different tiers and stuff out with iron blocks and stuff. And the reason why this one got separated out was specifically because I didn't want it to share blocks with this one because of the hatches and stuff. So I wanted to separate that one out. So and then after we were done, when we knew we weren't going to build any more fusion reactors, I just put an iron block cap on it and called it a day. But I really enjoy this area. I think it was a lot of fun to build. Um, I guess up here, here we'll go back to actually down over here, and then we can pop back up, and then we can go to what was Petrochem, which is now activated netherite. This base is so big, especially now that we can't like run it like Mach 2. We're not running at Mach 2. It's very it takes fucking forever to get anywhere. Um, Originally, we have the elevator here, and this elevator was where the hallway started immediately. Originally, actually. So when we had the EBF area, I knew we needed some more space for stuff, but I didn't really want to go in this direction because I was planning to build a watchtower over there, and the original idea had me building a pathway to the watchtower and having it connected via an actual pathway. It didn't end up being like that. Instead, I built something that was more disconnected and easy to copy paste, which I think was the better design solution, honestly. But I didn't end up going in that direction. So I wanted to go down instead because we had like a shelf down here, I guess. And I wanted to use it for something. And so I was like, okay, well instead of building a staircase down, since it would be super bulky, we're just gonna go ahead and build an elevator down to where I want. And where the mixers are, uh, I believe the mixers were actually here first. Um, yeah, like I built the mixers first, and I built this area over here for the EBFs. This was the EBF support area, more or less. Because when we were starting to put out a lot of EBFs, we needed a lot of mixers and stuff, and we were running out of spaces to put those. And we kept building more and more mixers, and instead of building more areas, we just started stacking them for a while. And I think it makes this area fairly unique, but I'm not really a huge fan of how it turned in general of how it's stacked since it's so unique isn't always good, and I think while it was very practical, I wish we would have been able to find space somewhere else, but and this is just how it had to be. Sometimes you have to just, forego aesthetics and in some ways to make sure you're at least actually building a working base. And in the grand scheme of things, I still think it looks pretty cool. Um, I think maybe we should have just built taller machine walls. Like the big problem we had was the machine walls are 4 on the interior instead of 5. So it was really hard to cram in an extra row of machines up there. The machines had to be like paired with drawers rather than having like a center block for lasers or pipes or whatever, and then machines, and then another room for drawers, and then capped off. But by the time that had become a serious problem and we'd realized it, we'd already built large portions of the base, and we just kind of realized, okay, well, I guess this is just how it's going to be, and that's just how it was. And I was thinking about whether if I needed more molecular assembler space, because by the very end of the pack, I was spamming molecular assemblers to an unbelievable degree. Yeah, there's lots and lots for Monifactory relies on CubeJS for a lot of its core mod stuff, or it's all of its core mod stuff. And a lot of those things, or most of them, are crafting recipes rather than like assembler recipes or other things. So we needed absolutely monstrous amount of molecular assemblers, especially
I wish
since
they were assembler recipes, to be
yeah,
honest.
exactly. I started putting things, if it was possible to be done in an assembler, I started putting them in the assembler just because the assembler was so much faster. Especially at high voltage tiers, it was super ultra fast, especially with parallel and stuff and all that stuff. It was really great. So we had needed lots and lots of surface area for molecular assemblers. So I was planning if I needed to, I would have swapped this area out for additional molecular assemblers. But we never really ended up needing that much because I went back to factory floor 1 and realized there was a bunch of duplicate setups there, and I tore those out and rebuilt them. Um, and then obviously we needed more space, so this is actually we built Petrochem over here, and then we ended up building cleanroom after. Cleanroom was like one of the last things we did over here on the shelf. Uh, Besides ore processing, but ore processing is sort of behind over there. So where we are now is activated netherite line, and this actually used to be petrochem. And this staircase didn't used to be here. We added this later when we rebuilt for activated netherite. Originally, we had only two EBFs making inert netherite scrap, but it was by far the largest bottleneck we had at the time. So we went, fuck it. Well, we need to put an RHF somewhere. So where are we gonna put it? And we kind of figured, well, what if we just kind of like dug a chunk out of the mountain and just plunked it right in there? And we're like, yeah, okay, that seems okay. And it actually, I like it. I think it looks pretty cool. I like how it like peeks up and stuff, and how it like sort of crawls up the mountainside. I think it looks really cool. Um, so yeah, this actually, so like I said, this used to be Petrochem. Obviously, once we hit tank, which is like a big running theme that'll be throughout the spaces.
Honestly, at this point, I
Yeah.
think this area has had the parallel hatches and energy hatches changed the most out of any like standing infrastructure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have swapped the energy hatches and the parallel hatches on this. Well, except for maybe ore processing. On ore processing, I've swapped those out a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
But if we're not counting ore processing, then yes, any other setup throughout the base has absolutely had these things upgraded more than anything else because activated netherite has been ever since you start getting into endgame, and this is the pre minor rework. So if you are playing Monifactory now, you are more than likely playing on 12. The version 12. If micro miners are not being consumed, you will not have this problem. But activated netherite is used in truly ludicrous, fucked up, insane. Why is it like that amounts in pre microminer rework? And there is no good way to actually get it in large amounts. Like you need ancient debris, right, in order to get activated netherite. The problem is the only microminer mission that actually gives you activated netherite only gives you 16 at a time, and it's really fucking obnoxious. We sent a couple days ago. I think Cosmic, you said we sent like one when we what were we at like
It was
1.7
one.
billion.
It, yeah, we
It,
were at 1.7 billion, and I believe it's like okay. How? Okay, let me just do this real quick. Where's my?
because right now we're at like 3.2, I think. Let's go check again.
Okay, let me get my calculator. And how much was it per?
It was 64 dense ore, so 16 stacks of regular ore.
And we're at 3.2 billion.
Yeah, 3.25.
So 3.25, and we make how much per?
Per how much nether? I have no idea. I legitimately
No, I
wouldn't
mean
be.
like how many nether quartz per mission?
16 stacks of nether quartz ore per mission.
Okay, so 16 times 64, which would be I think that's 2048.
But we have like the only way to get ancient debris in any like reasonable amount, or not even in any reasonable amount. The only way to get ancient debris is to spam T3 microminer missions. So we've sent literally millions of them, and I guess Cosmic is doing the math to figure out exactly how many we
I
have.
am.
Um,
So
eh,
we have sent 3,125,623 microminer missions.
as a rough estimate, I guess, because
Yeah,
of
very rough.
various, but still over 3 million T3 microminer missions. Which is that's fucked. That really is super ultra. That I can't. That was it was so fucked up. The reason why it took us this long, like I've spent like the last week, 2 weeks, effectively waiting for activated netherite to happen. Once you start getting into the matter processors, like, and that's when like activated netherite really starts becoming a big part of like a material lines and things you need a lot of. It is unbelievably bad. It was unbelievably bad how often we'd go up to like 120,000 buffer, and then we'd send up a bunch of micro miners, and then we'd eat that entire 100,000 ingot buffer in like an hour or 2 hours or something, and it's really quite atrocious. There wasn't really any of us faster way for us to get activated netherite, other than attempting to figure out a way. I guess just spamming even more T3s than we already were, and we were making them like one a tick or something, or we were making them about as like as literally as fast as a single auto table could craft them, which is really quite fast. Um, and that still wasn't really enough to feed the factory in any reasonable amount of time. We are dumping billions of EU into our activated netherite line alone. Over here we have our central planner logistics tower. I've always wanted to build this like a big tower in the center of this island, pretty much since we started here. Like I was like searching because a world spawn is like over here, and I was searching for a really cool area to build in. And once I saw this area where we had like the canyon and the river and the island in the center, I was like, okay, we're building the base here, and it's gonna look so sick. And it's really great. I think this is my favorite base I've ever built by far. Um, I just really enjoy how all over the place it is, how sprawling it is, and how it really integrates into. I've never built a base like this that integrated into terrain so well. Um, I mean, antimatter chemistry doesn't have any terrain, and in ATM 9 we just kind of paved over everything, and in mechanical mastery there's no
Walmart
terrain
approach.
either. Yeah, the Walmart approach. Um, so I really like this tower. I wanted to build something that was a little bit more majestic, I think. In the end it wasn't quite as large as I wanted, and I did want to build like a slow taper up to this. I wanted to build sort of like a lopsided skyscraper almost. And after about an hour of attempting to figure out a way to taper this weird pie shape into this weird oval shape, I realized that I just really wasn't a good enough builder to do it, and just went fuck it, flat top roof, it's fine. Um,
I probably could have done it, but it would have taken me probably like 3 days of redesign.
Yeah, that's what I figured out too. I'm like, okay, I can probably do this, but it's gonna take me days and days and days and days, and I don't even know if I'll like it then. Uh,
Activated netherite beckons you.
yeah, and I was like, I have to go do something else, so I just ended up not doing it. And we had lots of space in here. Uh, I don't take fall damage because I have the boots. This bridge actually, I haven't really used it. I think I've only used it like a couple of times, like twice, 2 or 3 times, just because it's easier to just teleport up here. Um, but we have all the crafters down here, and actually just like an hour ago or so, I threw an extra 1 million storage crafting on them, because we had when I was ordering like 1,000 T3
Or
miners at a time, but sometimes it wanted more than like 600,000 bytes, and none of our processors were that big. Like
I
our
put 4 millions on them, by the way.
Oh yeah, I put 4 millions. That's what it was. I know I put some megas on them, but I forgot which tier. Like immediately after just slapping them down.
We have one unnamed crafting CPU.
Yeah, I guess. What do we want to name it? You want to name
Hmm.
you want to name it something?
Try to think.
Oh, I know. Finally free.
I'm finally free.
Finally free. But our crafting processors are actually fairly small for our how far we are into any tech pack. They were only originally 512 with 256 core processors. We have a very passive heavy base, which means a lot of things we didn't really have to craft from like base components. So we never really had any massive crafts up until when I was ordering literally like a
Up to
thousand,
tier,
two
yeah.
thousand T3 miners at a time. Up here we have a space where we have all our drive bays and stuff. Originally our drive bays were all just crowded around in central core, and I really hated it. And this really gave me a chance to actually finally start organizing drives into like partitioned drives for drawers and stuff, as well as general use drives for just, obviously general use. Um, each one of these drive sides, I guess to say, is its own subnet, so you can actually manage all the drives in here. So we can actually see all the various different. We can search up all like the partitioned drives and stuff. Like maybe we have iron in here. We can see we have all the various different liquids and stuff. And we also have iron ingots and stuff and wrought iron. This
Are
is
there
where
main drives on here, or is this just
no
the
red. The other side
partition?
has main drives. The other side is general unfiltered drives. Um, we also put in here was when I was rebuilding a lot of other systems like the EBFs or whatever, when I was tearing them out, we had lots of subnets all over the base. Like Petrochem was a subnet. There's actually a couple of subnets. NACline was a subnet. Platline was a subnet. EBFs were a bunch of subnets. And I just pulled all their various partition drives and just slotted them in here to get used for something else. Um, we also have requesters over here, and requesters are I don't know how to feel about them. They're very cool in some instances, but I find they're really annoying and kind of unstable, and that they're really slow to order some things, especially like T3 miners. I found our biggest bottleneck for ordering T3 miners when we were using requesters was actually the requesters simply just not ordering them. And I was really inconsistent about how often it would order like a batch at a time, and eventually I just gave up, and I didn't really feel like waiting for requesters, so that's when I started going to passive as many things as possible. So we ended up putting T3 miners on passive, the Sun Eaters, which get you like the universe creation data, and the Cryobulus ones, which get you the layer of the Warden data. All of those got put on passive. I was maybe thinking about putting tier 10s or whatever on passive, but I saw that needed like the discharger recipes, and the discharger is fucking annoying to deal with. I
It's
guess we
also
can.
very annoying to craft because you have to go manually mine Skulk.
No, that's the Skulk Biocharger. There's the Skulk. I'm talking about the regular Discharger. Which actually, here's a
Uh,
fun fact: if you the Skulk biocharger can either be a Skulk charger or a discharger, which are different things. You have to do a mode select, and in charging mode, it can do parallelization. However, in discharger mode, it can't. As in, the multi-block won't even form if it has a parallel hatch in it when in the discharger mode. And
hmm.
discharger is also extra super fucking annoying because no matter how far you overclock it, it always takes the same amount of time per recipes. So it was really hard. So our biggest bottleneck for a long time on some of like the tier 10s and up were actually the solar panels because they require uh, discharger recipes.
Never had to rebuild terbium though.
Yeah, no, we built terbium once, and I had to come back here and turn it on once. But other than that, it was you don't really need all that terbium since it's just used as a magnetic rod in I think UV and up. Terbium, I
It's
forget
used
it.
for the magnetic rods for the motors, and that's like it.
Yeah, UIV, UHV, and UEV. So it's UHV and up motors. And once that's it. You don't really use it in anything else. So once we built it,
Yeah, and
or
it's
I say
one
we
per
built it, but
motor, I think.
Cosmic built
It's
it.
used for the polarizers as well.
Yeah.
I built activated netherite, terbium, and else.
And I rebuilt Netherite line like 14 times because
Rebuilt. You
Activated
switched out the
Netherite
hatches.
line is
You
so
switched out
bad.
the hatches.
I hate activated Netherite so much. Activated
All
Netherites.
me and my homies hated it.
All
Hate
my
activated
all
netherite.
my homies hate activated Netherite line. Fuck activated Netherite line.
Hey Robo, how big do you think activated netherite needs to be? I
Oh,
mean, we're making
I
tables. Why don't we
remember
do
us
that
talking
then?
about that. We're like looking at it, I'm like, do we think this is enough? We're like, yeah, it seems like this will be enough.
We just add an
Spoiler.
RHF, it'll be fine. And we can always just switch out the hatches meanwhile.
The end game tank looking or end game chest looking at you like over here actually where terbium is was we had another this was petrochem 2 for a while. We were gonna do charcoal byproducts over here because moving away from pneumatics, our original power scheme was to go nitrobenzene into large gas turbines. And we ended up dropping that plan because at the time the only rotors we could have built were Ultimate, which only had about 24-hour worth of lifetime, and none of us really wanted to get on and continually replace rotors that often, especially since we didn't have a battery, a substation at the time. So they probably would have been running almost 24/7, which meant we would have had to get on every single day and replace the full set of turbines every single day. And none of us really wanted to do that. So we went down high octane gasoline line instead. But that was after
Hog.
we actually cranking my hog. But
Mm.
however, we actually did end up, we still set up the charcoal byproduct distillation, which was actually really nice because we used a bunch of those products in hog, like toluene and acetone and ethanol all get used in fairly large amounts in making hog and then eventually gene. So that toluene and the acetone and several other components out of charcoal byproducts came in, it was very, very useful. Um, so we didn't really lose anything by setting them up. And we also had a
Wait,
greenhouse
hold
over
on. We
here.
use gene gasoline to make cryobule.
Yeah, you use gene gasoline to make cryobulus, which is why we never actually, even after we switched to fusion, I left that lineup. Um,
Hmm.
Over here we actually had our greenhouse for logs for the longest time, and we had that overclocked
And there's
super
like,
high. Yeah,
yeah, there's like a super chest of like 2.7 million logs or
We
something.
had 42 point million by the time I tore it out, and we're down to 37.5. So we ate a couple million logs, but it wasn't too
I
bad.
remember when we said over here, these islands will be fine. If we need to build more islands, we'll go somewhere else. It proceeds to stack them.
Then it got to a point where I realized I wanted to put more things on passive for the assembly yard. We're gonna hold on. I'm gonna walk the long way over there.
On the
This
road to
base is
heaven.
huge. Every time I have to walk it without super speed makes me realize just how big of a base we built. But yeah, we have ore processing over here, and this was the reason why this is called ore processing good. Was because we had shit ore processing up into this, and I was very happy to have
The
something good.
steam grinder.
Oh, yeah, we had steam grinders for most things, and then HV machines for some things we wanted byproducts from. But over here is this is a really great ore processing design. It uses push logistics, so you have RedNet, which is a logistics net, and it is fed items either from mainnet, dumping items into it, or by multi-blocks putting things into the output buses and shoving items into RedNet, and then using storage buses dumps those into subnets. And all of these various multi-blocks have stocking input buses, which means they're connected to their various subnet. so they can see everything they want to do. Like, so macerator have a macerator net, and they all have stocking input buses, which just infinitely draw everything they can see. Um,
So basically all the match raiders are paralyzed, is what I'm
Yep,
hearing.
they're all parallelized, and they all pull as much as they can, as fast as they can, as much as they want, and it's really really great. And I'm saying this because I didn't design this ore processing system. This is taken from Threefold's GTH Season 2 playthrough. By the very end, he rebuilt his ore processing system, and this is effectively what he built. And I thought, man, that was really cool. And so I built it here, and it was really quite exceptionally effective. I do wish I had left a little bit more space over here for at least one more subnet. I ended up running out of space. I swapped out. Originally, we had dense ores in here, and I had to remove those for the electromagnetic separator. Or we had dense ores. So originally it was one shorter, and I didn't have enough room for HCl washing because originally tungstate processing was left out of ore processing, like the final stage of the dust, to actually tungsten dust. That was still done over on factory floor too. But eventually I got sick of it, and I was like, okay, well I'll just have to extend out this area, and then I can fit in. I had to rearrange all some of these subnets and these drives and things, and then I can fit in another subnet. But when it came to doing the holmium line, holmium requires an electromagnetic separator, and I didn't have room in or processing subnet list for like over here for an electromagnetic separator. So instead, I swapped out densors, which we didn't really process all that much at the time anyway. We ended up processing a lot more now, but that stuff is all super duper ultra mega fast on LCRs, so it's fine. We just do that in a single LCR over in the DMC, and it does ridiculous amounts of ores exceedingly quickly. So that ended up being fine. But originally we did have dense source here. But ore processing was great. This was this ore processing was exceptionally overbuilt, and only a couple of times did I ever actually have problems with it, and it was mostly drives getting full. Generally, the packer actually, the packer and the centrifuges seem to were the things that I struggled the most with. And by struggled the most with, I mean I think the Packer was an issue like twice, and the centrifuge was an issue like twice, and pretty much everything else worked really really great. Especially since how fast it is when you throw like 7 machines or whatever.
When was
Actually,
the last time I guess that we are processing ores from the micro miners.
yeah, we actually I've been moving the miners every now and then as well as I did run a bunch of like dilithium ore missions as well, and ended up running some redstone missions and stuff. So ore processing has had some stuff to do, but only more recently. After we got tank, it really didn't really do too much for a while. I do know the slowest part of this area is either the sifters or the water washers. Oh, sorry. Um, as we can only fit 4 water washers in here, if I had rotated them and then put them like vertically, I could have been fit more in there, but that would have uh, felt
Like
really
stupid.
and felt really weird. So I didn't do it that way. But did manage to fit 4 in here, and it ended up being more than good enough.
Yeah, if you put them vertically, you could do like probably 8, maybe
Well, there are
12.
4, so I would have gotten even. No, I wouldn't. If I did them vertically, I would have gotten maybe 8 in there, because the mass raiders are 4 or 5 by 5, and we got 7 in there. So.
They're only 3 tall. If you flip them on their end, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, okay, that's what you mean. But they're 7 long, so. Over here we have the assembly lines because originally we had 3 on-demand assemblers, and I wanted to put more things on passive for assembly lines, especially for things like LUV pumps, which I think get used in wetware circuit boards. So I wanted to put those on passive for the wetware circuit boards because I wanted to put as many things on passive, especially circuits. Circuits, in my opinion, should always be on passive. Um, Generally only the cheap ones if you really want to, but I ended up putting the Matter supercomputers and the Matter mainframes on passive, though I did end up turning the Matter mainframes off, just because I wanted to have them stop eating so many Matter processors so I could order more shit. But we did end up putting a ton of various things on passive, and I think it really, really helped us a lot for a lot of different things. It really saved, again, when it ordered well, this is one of the reasons why our crafts were so low as well. Our bite size was because we had tons of things on passive through this. And originally it wasn't. We only had one staircase, and it ended like right around here or so. We had about it was about 4 or I think it was about 5. We had about 5 long or something like that, 4 or 5 long. Um, the problem is we needed more and more things, and I just kept extending it farther and farther down until we get to this far over here, and I realized how far we are away from the river because I wanted to keep as much as the base was centered around the river as much as possible, and we were just kind of running away from it. Ore processing was kind of just like an exception to that. Like at the time, like oh, well, it's pretty big and it's already kind of close to the river, and it was fine. I really wanted to build a big ore processing system. I really liked how it staircased down and stuff. I thought that was really neat. Um, I do kind of sometimes wish I had built a shorter multi-block up top, and maybe built like the taller multi-blocks, like the macerators farther down, so you would have been able to see over all of them rather than the macerators, um, over making it so you couldn't see anything. Um, but at a certain point, I'm like, okay, exactly what Cosmic said earlier was, if we need more ass lines, I'll just build another room for that. And then it got to the point where I was so sick of waiting for shit. I'm like, okay, fuck it. Like I'm just gonna go ahead and stack the assemblers. And actually, I don't mind the way that looks. I really like how monolithic it looks over here. I really felt like this area suffered from being very flat. It is one of the largest areas in the base. At
It is
least
the
like
largest area in the base
yeah,
next
it
to
is
the
the largest area
DMC.
in the base. Even outsizing the DMC, and the DMC, even though it does have lots of rows,
I
and it
think
is
square footage it might be larger, but in terms of
not the
one dimension, this one's definitely.
No, in terms of square footage, this is much, much larger. Probably twice the size in terms of machine pad space. But I found this area felt very flat because the assemblers are very narrow, and even doing the decorative work, which I did after, it still made this area. We have a lot of like flat surface area here, and so I feel like stacking them actually kind of helped out with that a little bit, made it fill it up a little bit, so your FOV was a little bit less filled with walkways and flat plains, and more towers. So I really like the way they stacked up. I think that looks really cool. I don't think it would have been looked very good to stack them three high, but we were never gonna stack them that high. um, all right, should we go talk about on demand now?
Yep.
Time to slowly walk over there.
We can also go to the trophy hall since we kind of skipped over that
Yeah,
underneath the core.
yeah. Hold on, I will walk over to Central Core though. It's gonna take me like 2 minutes to get there, so hold on
You're
to
good.
your. Oh my god, I can't believe we're done. I can't believe we're done.
How long of a break do you think you're gonna take?
I don't know. I don't know. I need to go play another video game that's not Minecraft. I literally haven't done anything other than play Minecraft for like a week at this point. Like the amount of dedication I've been putting into Monifactory this last week and a half has been a little bit jaw dropping even to myself. Like I said, I did two 12-hour streams back to back, and then did an 8-hour one, and then played for another 5 hours after that one anyway.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that, gang. Absolutely no idea.
I like Minecraft. Okay, I like my silly block game. It's fun.
I
Uh,
like Minecraft too, but I have other things I need to do with my life.
I have other things I need to do with my life as well, but I didn't do them. I was busy playing Craig. Do you want to talk about the trophy room since you built it?
I mean, yeah, sure. I just felt that so every quest tier has, the quest tier, or you may not know. The quest tiers are dictated by the quest book and like the little thing in Discord that shows you, and they all give little trophies every so many, every chapter voltage tier. So it's just the color of the lamp and then the main metal of the tier. So ULV is wrought iron, steel, aluminum, stainless steel, titanium, tungsteel, and then over here it's rhodium plated, lumium palladium, naquita alloy, darmstandium, whatever. Neutronium, then omnium, then monium.
UEV and Monium, they don't give you trophies for those.
Yeah, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, so I didn't quite end up. Uh, I guess we can do like a item frame. Can we do an item frame?
Item frame. I think there's actually a regular trophy. I think there's like a blank trophy
Here,
pedestal. Yeah, there
here.
is. Yeah, but they're non.
Oh,
Here, can you put an ingot on that?
let's see. Let's take a look. No,
No. Sad.
maybe if you craft it with it, it'll do it.
No.
Nope. Highly
Sad.
unfortunate.
They're
Here,
also uncraftable. Sad.
the trophies.
Yeah, I found them
Yeah.
in. They're uncraftable. They're from
Oh.
a mod. Probably a Cube.js thing.
Oh yeah. Here, hold on. I'm doing a fancy item frame.
Probably.
We're out of sticks, by the way.
How the
Uh, Monium. And then if you want to, here we'll put Skulk in there, or is it maybe Omnium? Yeah, we'll do Omnium for UEV.
yeah.
There we go. So yeah, trophy. I really like this trophy room too because I always saw this area underneath the main base, like the underneath central core, and I was always wondering what we could put down here. And at one point, I thought about putting the discharger down here, but I didn't really feel like dealing with this huge area, so I just got put into on-demand crafting. But I really like how what you did. It looks really nice.
Yeah. I like how it turned out. Oh, by the way, this is open. Like if you come up here, this entire cave, so from up here
Where did you go?
to here and the entire ceiling, this is all terraformed. I'm right here with you.
Oh,
I didn't. I'm right here. This entire cave is terraformed. If you teleport through here, um,
oh,
this wall was not here. This was terraformed.
oh! Wow, it looks really good. I thought it was a natural cave.
Nope.
You've been doing a lot of terraforming.
I've been slowly getting better at it.
Yeah, so I guess we'll go back to Central
Practice makes
Core.
perfect.
Should we go walk to on demand area, and then I guess we'll have to teleport to Montana.
I'm not walking. I don't think you can walk to Montana.
No, there's no bridge over there. Oh, I guess here's like where regular on demand first was. This like we mentioned before
OG
a
on
while.
demand.
Yeah, a while ago. This was where our original lawn base was. And on demand has changed a lot over the time for obvious reasons. Although what was really funny is this is where I built our original like assembler pattern provider matrix thing. And I always figured, oh, we'll need more patterns and we'll build a bigger one somewhere else. But by the time we actually need to build a bigger one somewhere else, we'll be able to build a bigger one somewhere else. And we ended up never actually building a bigger one somewhere else. This was more than enough. This is like 50 or 60 extended pattern molecular assemblers, all with the extended
And
molecular
we still have
assemblers.
like 40 rows left, if
Yeah.
not more.
So we actually got an absolute monstrous amount of patterns in here. I know you looked at the multi-block, but we never really got around to building that one.
I mean, honestly, the
This
multi-block I
was
don't
fast
feel is
enough.
worth it.
Yeah, and the other
Yeah,
thing was like it was very rare that like the actual crafting step was like a
what
bottleneck
took
at
the
all.
longest.
It was
Yeah.
generally a machine somewhere else, so it was never really a huge problem for us. Another big ass bridge. I really like all these bridges. This is where originally our first set of 5 crafting CPUs were. Eventually, we ended up needing a lot more, and once we built the big central command tower, I just moved the processors over there, or the CPUs over there, so we could
The
have more of
OG
them.
ones were here.
Yeah, and then when I tore them out, I realized we needed an area for some on-demand EBF stuff for a few specific metals that I didn't really feel like were worth the full passive area, because especially at the time we were running low on EBF slots, and I wanted to keep them for very specific things. Um, so yeah, eventually we built EBFs over here, and this is circuit 2, and I left an area for another pair of a different EBF circuit, and I just never ended up building another pair of EBFs. So this has just been here the whole time.
Oh, I did figure out something.
What?
Um, so with EBFs, so if you put a program circuit into an EBF, like into an input bus,
Yeah.
Um, so if you have an EBF input bus that has circuit 2 on it, and then you put a circuit 1 like program circuit card into the bus, it'll if it can't do recipe 2, it'll do the circuit of the one in the bus. So you can have one input bus be circuit 2 and 1.
Oh, that was interesting. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah,
Oh, I also have
that's
an
how
ME
I always do it in
output
my
hatch
EBF.
here. This was just because there was a recipe that was spitting out helium gas, and I just gave it an infinite cache ME output hatch because it didn't matter. I didn't really want any of it at the
Yeah.
time, so I just let it cache there. I could have just thrown an output hatch and have it void or whatever, but over here this is when we started building our on-demand multi-blocks, and we have a very scuffed LCR over here that we have some very interesting patterns in there. And at one point, I actually put a pattern for gypsum because one of the byproducts was phosphoric acid, I believe, and I just needed some phosphoric acid like on demand for something. So I just said, fuck it. Here's how we're gonna make some on demand phosphoric acid. Um, and it was super ultra scuffed, and it was kind of terrible. But we ended up using most of the stuff for the various chemical dyes, which we used for making various lenses for engraving throughout the base. As well as I know I like to do circuits on passive, but the Monic circuits were just too expensive for me to justify putting those on passive, especially with how expensive the tier 12s are to make just a stack of Monium ingots. That stuff was going to stay on demand, especially since our on demand time was really quite impressively fast for most things, so it really wasn't a concern. Most of the time, the slow part about making Monium circuits was making everything else, or waiting for more fucking activated netherite. So I've spent a lot of time waiting for activated netherite. Down over here we also have, so we have the wire factory. This is an extractor. Oh, this is a electric furnace. The other one over there was a multi smelter or an alloy smelter. Obviously we have a regular assembler here. We have a lathe and then a bender. And over here is where I built our original set of AST lines, as well as where I built extended crafting and some skulk charging as well. We actually still have the old data bank here that was connected to all of the AST lines and stuff. But I got really fucking sick of waiting on AST lines. So a couple days ago, at the beginning of this week, I tore out all the old AST lines and I rebuilt them all with 8 dimensional super assemblers all set to UXV and overclocked to OPV with 16 parallel hatches because we're never running huge, gigantic parallel crafts anyway on these things. And I had to dig out a huge area. I didn't have to dig out as large an area as uh, these multi-blocks are because this original area actually paved over a pit originally anyway. So I didn't really have to do a lot of digging here. I still had to do some, but not nearly as if it was like, a solid mass. Um, so this ended up working really well. One thing is someone in my stream chat actually told me about the ME pattern buffers, and I thought maybe that would fix the issues I was having with especially T11s and 12s, where they were kept getting stuck. It wasn't a problem with any other recipe or any other assembly line recipe in the game. It was mostly getting stuck on UHV circuits. Like if it was gonna get stuck, it was gonna get stuck on making UHV circuits or making infinity power units. And I never figured out what exactly was the problem, what exactly was causing them to stick. And
NBT data, my
I
patron.
don't think it was MBT data because the UHV circuits were sticking too, and those don't take MBT data.
I have
So
no idea.
my personal opinion was it was issues with P2P TPS stuff, but I still don't know to this day. And someone told me about the ME pattern buffers, about how they would just directly dump the patterns into the multi-blocks, and as well as if you bind them to the proxies, it'll just dump them between all of them, and you don't even need to cable to the proxies. They just teleport the items to them. However, it turns out
Amazing.
they don't actually work in this version. They literally don't function. So I spent like I was really sad that they didn't work because I was hoping that would have fixed my problem. And in the end, what I ended up doing was I have this assembler here. This one has a dedicated one for making UEV robot arms, infinity power units, ultimate batteries, and those were some things that I saw get stuck a couple of times. Um, so that fixed most of the problems, not all of them though. And then I added some beacons because I thought it was a little bit thematic with the dimensional stuff. And it's not
So that
like
you can actually see the color changing frames or the casings.
well,
But I think,
oh yeah, like down here. No, I mean this is
yeah.
I use stained glass to change the
Yeah, no, I know.
oh, but I thought it was cool because it's all the Omnium casings and Infinity casings and stuff, and I thought it looked really cool.
Yeah,
And
no, it
we'd
does.
spent several hundred hours here, and we hadn't built any beacons, and I thought, you know what, we should build a beacon. So I built some beacons. But yeah, and we have the discharger over here. This is where the original Skulk Charger was. And the discharger was where the Skulk Biocharger was. And then I swapped them when I was going to build the Skulk Biocharger to do Skulk cores faster. And I was like, well, we're still going to need a discharger somewhere. So I put that one over there. And um, I guess we can go talk about special crafting too now that we're coming over here. Um, so we needed a discharger and the Skulk Biocharger because the other charging altar fucking sucks. And I moved to the multi-block one very quickly because you need lots of Skulk cores, like lots of Skulk cores. And let me reiterate to you, lots of Skulk cores. And this one can do paralyzation and stuff. And I wanted to see if we could. This is how I learned the hard way that the discharger mode does not do paralyzation, unfortunately, because this is where the HPCA tower was originally to make some creative creative computational data.
That
As
immediately got torn down
yeah,
because now there's just
well, I didn't immediately get torn down. I got torn down at the moment I needed more space over here. Um, and I didn't have to extend it out too far, fortunately. I didn't have to do too much rebuilding because the space was already generally here, which was fun. And then we have a subatomic digital assembler here for some like the various like some datas as well as making the various some of the creatives and stuff to get made in here. All right, I guess we can go talk about Montana now.
there's also the Omnic Forge down here.
Oh yes, we should go talk. I guess we can go show the Omnic Forge. This was another really cool looking area over here, and I knew I wanted to do something with it, but I wasn't exactly sure. And every time I needed to do an on-demand expansion, I kept looking in here. I'm like, is there anything I can do that makes sense? The answer was never yes. However, when it came to the Omnic Forge, I'm like, well, we're not going to have too many of those, or we're only really going to have one on demand. That's super expensive, and it looks super cool, so we should put it in a super cool area. So Cosmic built it, and I went, hey Cosmic, can you like put it like floating over this pit? And she went, yeah. And I went, sick. Um, and
Yeah, I've seen
she
this
did it.
outline.
And there's like glass floors and stuff, so you can see like the pit below. And then I came in and added some lighting and stuff too, so you can see the huge cave beneath, as well as like the floating water and stuff. I love this area. It looks really really cool. Yeah, so I guess now we can go talk about Montana. Are you got anything you want to say about the build?
Nope, I do
Okay,
not.
Montana. So neither of us built Montana actually. This was the project of person who was the third person who's played on this server, and this is where she spent a majority of her time. I actually today spent some time finishing up some of the builds in here. I mentioned like it's Montana, and she actually built a silo in here once. And I'm like, is there no missile in there? And she's like, no. I'm like, you should try to build a missile. She's like, okay. And then she built us a nuclear. We have a nuclear umbrella in Monifactory. We are a nuclear armed nation. How do you feel about that, Cosmic? We have nuclear weapons.
Fish.
Yeah, so we have a. I thought this was really cool. I really liked. This missile is really sick, especially with like all like the flushways or whatever for like a missile launch. A person she did a really great job with this. I think it looks fucking awesome. And I just finished up some of the stuff behind the glass. I just replaced the raw stone or whatever with some grilled concrete. Um, in here we have the we have the big fancy ad Astra doors here. This is where all the reactors were, and they've been turned off a while since they've been turned off since tank. And this isn't the original area in here. This was left unfinished, and I decided to go ahead and do some decorative work in here. And I did some changes to where how these things were outlined. Originally, they were outlined with like the orange and white hazard stuff, and as I was rebuilding it, I realized it didn't really look all that great, especially it didn't combine very well with like the green tracings. So I swapped it out for this other hazard green concrete, but this stuff isn't connected textures. It's just a rotated block, so it wouldn't do junctions. So I just used the radioactive hazard signs, and I think it looked really cool, and they were already built in pits. And I thought, wouldn't it be sick as fuck to have like water reactor pits? And I did blue lamps in there for like Cherenkov radiation, so it kind of looks like they're glowing blue and stuff. So it looks like they're active even if they're not. So they're sitting in like water, their water cooling pits or whatever, and they're glowing. I think it looks really cool. And I did some glass ceilings up above. Um, and there's some more reactors down here.
Were these used for power, or what were these actually used
These
for? I
were
know they
used for
came up here.
making elements and stuff, like all the various like plutonium and neptunium. Like this is how you originally get plutonium and neptunium, einsteinium, berkelium. Oh, I actually never added the glass here. There we go. So this was we did actually use some of these things for power for a while as well. Before we were like when Gene wasn't quite enough, and we were still just a little bit away from fusion. We were using the nuclear reactors as power for a while. Once we got in serious into fusion though, fusion turbines, these things kind of fell off for power, unfortunately. And NCN, we turned them off as soon as we didn't need them anymore because I really hate these reactors. I think they kind of eat TPS really badly, which is why I'm very happy we have them turned off because the server is performing bad enough as it is. And the other side of, I love these doors. They're so cool. And then we have over here, like Montana has built this a loop around the silo and stuff. And over here we have fuel reprocessing, which is a bunch of multi-block centrifuges on their own little subnet. Down over here we can see all their different elements and stuff we get from the various fuels. You get things like curium as well, berkelium, americium. This is how you get initially all this stuff. You can make americium through fusion reactors, but it's better to do it through nuclear craft, I think, because it's really power hungry to do it through um, the GT fusion. And then over here we have where all the fuel was made. We have the various machines and stuff. All of them have been depowered. I tore them all out of the power connections at one point because we didn't need to power them anymore. So they all look like they're running, but they're all frozen. I didn't really know how to rebuild this area, so I never really got around to doing it, especially since it was. I never really got a chance to do any deco work in here because I didn't really know what to do, and I was busy doing other things, unfortunately. But I did do the. I only was able to do part of the deco work in here. But overall, I think I really like Montana. It's very unique and very different from the base, and I think it really sets it apart. And I think that's great. There's actually a surface part too as well because it's Montana, right? It's a nuclear missile silo. So we have some fences and stuff. I didn't do a great job on the fences. I just added a little bit of height to them, but they don't look great. But I didn't really want to spend a lot of time. But there's also like a big silo door here and stuff too, and then like the bunker entryway with like the no soliciting sign next to like the secret nuclear bunker. I think this area is great. I really like Montana, how it's like built into like a nuclear silo and stuff, and built into the side of a mountain. I think it's a really unique and fun place, part of the base. I never really spent a lot of time over here, unfortunately, because I never really built any of this stuff. Um, Person did most of the work over here. This is where, like I said earlier, this is where she spent a bulk of her time. I think that's more or less the whole base. I don't think there's anything else. Um,
This one tower up here gives a pretty good view of the base if you go on
uh,
the roof.
the central tower.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we can. You want to do a quick flyover? Here, I turned off my HUD. We'll do a quick flyover of the base. I love these bridges and stuff too. We looked up like bridges over the Grand Canyon and arch bridges in general as reference, and they turned out really well.
Spoiler, I didn't use any references.
Well, we used it as a reference to
The
like
initial
figure out
design,
yeah
yeah.
the initial design to do like the arch bridge and stuff.
Circle generators are for the weak.
I used a circle generator. Okay, leave me alone.
Weakness.
I really liked these watchtowers. I really like these tall towers in my bases, especially since I really enjoy height variation. And I really like building them like skyscrapers, so they give off a little bit of a cityscape vibe. And I think that looks really well. And I really like the way this base turned out. I think it looks fucking amazing. The way like all the lighting is and stuff, and all the tall towers. I think this is a great base, and I'm really happy how the like I said before, this base is fucking. This is my favorite base. I don't know. Hopefully, I'll be able to top it one day. Hopefully, every base I build will be better. I have some very cool ideas for the antimatter chemistry base. We're gonna because we were playing antimatter chemistry next.
I think star technology is slowly actually getting a lot better. To be honest,
Yeah,
I think you might enjoy it at one point, but I feel like they
so
need to get some of their stuff worked out.
yeah, I think we'll play
I
Star Trek
mean,
eventually. I don't I because right now I think we might try GTNH at the end of the year, beginning of 2026. But Monifactory has taught me that I am not ready for GTNH in any significant capacity. I guess because I do want to spend a moment to talk about the various lessons I've learned on Monifactory. Because every time I play, recently the last year and a half or so, I've been playing playing modded Minecraft, basically since I started on the channel. I always try to take a lesson away from the base every pack I play. I try and learn at least one thing, and I think I learned more than one thing playing Monifactory. Most of the stuff I actually was less about the base style. I learned a lot about Gartech, but actually mostly about myself. Was over the course of playing Monifactory, I had to fight burnout against the pack on multiple different occasions. There's been multiple times where I realized after I've been trying to do something because I feel like I have the need to be productive or whatever reason, right? I want to get on and play a game that I like, and then I get on and don't do anything other than like move miners or something, and I don't really like to do
mm,
that either, and that's kind of like a really tedious task, because I've figured out like when I'm burned out and when I'm not, and figuring out like forcing myself to take a step away from the game, going, you know, I want to play, I want to do this, but I am not capable of actually doing this because the moment I try and do it, it just doesn't happen. And so that's been a really big lesson for a really big lesson for me to learn. Is more or less endurance. Monifactory was a really extensive pack with lots of grinding to do, especially in this last week. This is the most time I've ever spent in a Minecraft world by far. I don't know about how much. The second runner is obviously ATM9 since I spent about 600 and was it 540 for me or like and 640 combined or was it like 640 for me and like 700 combined or something?
I have no idea.
I know I spent some very big numbers in ATM9, but
Yeah, something like that.
this was I spent at least 100 hours more in Monifactory, probably closer to 200 hours more over ATM9. And so learning how to pace myself as well as learning when I can play versus when I want to play, and sometimes those are different, um, it has been really good. That's been like my big lesson to learn. I still I love this base design, and it was really great to come back to it. But next time we play Animator Chemistry, I'm gonna do some. I have some fancy ideas.
I think I want to make it more vertical based next time.
I was thinking actually more of like an ancient city kind of vibe, like having like raised like here. If we're gonna come to the DMC, I guess I can give you everyone like an idea of what I want to do. In the DMC, you know how we have like this high pathway and then like raised like lowered
Yeah.
machine
You
areas.
want to do kind of like a city, like
Yeah, I want to
large,
do.
higher up pathways with like different areas.
I want like the base to be like basically effectively raised, like the walkways to be raised over the machines as much as possible.
Gotcha. And to add to your thing with dealing with burnout, I've also learned this over the past few years because I personally struggled with motivation when it came to a lot of things, as well as especially also Minecraft mod packs. Sticking with them. I've been playing modded Minecraft since I started playing Minecraft. Period.
Yeah, I've been
Starting
playing.
all the way back with the original Tech It and all that, and
Yeah, yeah,
coming through all this time, I've realized that if you force yourself to play because you want to, feel productive or you want to get something done, you're gonna burn yourself out so incredibly quickly that it's detract from a lot of the value of the packs. Because I've gotten into packs like Divine Journey 2, E2E, and all these like quote unquote excerpt packs that were really long, and I could never finish them. I would get to like midway through, and then I get burnt out, and I'd stop playing, and I wouldn't play Minecraft for like 3 months. And I started playing my first Greg Tech mod packs, and I played with people like my friend Nick that got me to actually understand, you know, not playing when you're burnt out, and that just applies to a lot of games, honestly, including competitive ones like Rocket League and all that.
yeah. Like if
I
you're,
really,
you have to like. It's good that I have other games I can play and other things I can do. Because sometimes you want to play a game and you're like, oh, I'll go hop on my Minecraft server to go do something, and then you get on and you realize you don't have the motivation to do anything. But it's like, but I'm supposed to play a game, right? And sometimes it's better just to go do nothing, even if it's rather than playing a game and worse burning yourself out.
yeah.
Um, I also really enjoyed the experimentation we did with building in the space. There are a lot of very unique areas for the space, and I felt like I really got a chance to push myself in terms of a builder more than ATM9, obviously, since that was the Walmart style, and
Hmm.
antimatter chemistry, which was no terrain. What's that? Um, I really enjoyed having an opportunity to build a base that was intertwined in the terrain, rather than paving over the terrain, but working with it as a huge part of the base's features, and I think this is why it's probably my most favorite base. Um,
Yeah.
I think, unless, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
Uh, no, not really.
All right, well,
That was everything.
I guess that's probably about it for us guys. It's a money factor. So I've said this before. I'll
What
say it again.
turned from a simple video clip of the chess turned into final progression log.
An hour and a half. I know at the very beginning I'm like, oh, this is part of the final progression log. I think this might just be the final progression log. I might just upload this tonight. um, But yeah, for those who don't know, actually, I think I've mentioned this on stream, but I'll go ahead and mention it here. If you want the world download, First off, you guys can. I'll attempt to post it into my Discord. I'm sure it's going to be quite large. I'll probably be able to rip just the overworld, and that'll be pretty small. But I'll send out the world download. But I would like to leave you all with something to note. There are 6 secret signs throughout the base that I have hidden in various locations. Um, and if you guys want to download the world and go find them, that'd be funny. You don't get any. You don't. There's no prize for doing it.
Good pat
Other
on the back.
yeah, other than like a nice job,
Maybe
you
your
found.
role in a Discord or something.
Not, I don't even. Maybe who knows? Probably not. But it'll be like a good job. You found it, or if you want like to go hunt for something or whatever. I don't know. I just thought they were funny, and every time I was like building on like a fancy little corner or whatever, I'm like, oh, I'll just go ahead and throw something here because I think it's funny. Um, but yeah.
It'd be really fun if there's just one on like a singular block on the outside of one of the towers in the corner.
Well, there's 6 right now. Do you wanna? We can put like a couple more if you want. We could put like 3 more, 4 more. We could
Yeah, we
we
can.
should we could do like a we'll do like a round 10. So right after this log, we'll go add some more. And we'll do like a round solid 10. But I guess that is it for us from Monifactory. So what's this? This is
Hell of a ride, hasn't it?
yeah, it's been so long. This is 18, the 18th log.
Something like that.
Let me alt tab to check it. I can't believe I forgot. Um, let me check. This is the 18th log. Oh yeah, we did it. We won. We win. We won. We chest. We did it. Oh, actually here. Let's my game is gonna freeze for a split second, but let's go claim the winner quest. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Please don't crash. Okay, thank you. Oh, we've already kind of claimed it. Quantum chest.
There
Money
goes no
Factory.
reward.
Man, there is no reward. The reward is victory. All right, so I think we've probably
What quest are we missing in this tree? Oh, the large Nakoda reactor controller.
yeah. All right, guys. So we'll see you all in the next series, which will be antimatter chemistry. Whenever I feel like playing Minecraft again, which could be anywhere from 3 days to 3 weeks. We'll have to see. But
Yeah.
this was a mega grind. I have to go do something else for like at least like the rest of the week. I have to go not play Minecraft. All right.
Mega grind.
So I hope you guys have had a good week. Mine has been exhausting for obvious reasons. Um, and I hope you guys have a good upcoming, however long it takes before the next progression log. And I will see you all then. Then I guess.